what I appreciate about Advent is it, one, forces you to be a little bit more intentional. So instead of you just blindly like barreling in after Thanksgiving and going, here we go, and we just got to try to survive until December 25th, and then we all collapse in that week before Christmas and New Year's, it slows it down. It causes you to pause a bit and say, what are we doing this season? And how are we preparing? And how are we keeping our focus on the fact that this is celebrating Christ coming into the world and just how that birth changed everything.
Hi, welcome to Wild and Beautiful. We're Joanna Hyatt and Lauren Enriquez, your co-hosts who every week are helping you live out your faith in a way that's biblically rooted but culturally relevant.
Hi, friends. This week, we do not have a news hook for you other than Hobby Lobby has put their Christmas decorations up, so we are now free to talk about Christmas. You're welcome. Also, we've had some heavy episodes. We've talked about pornography. We've talked about women's values and a value of women and essentially transgenderism. So we thought we're going to shift a little bit, give y'all a breather in the lead up to Thanksgiving and in the lead up to Advent. We want to talk about Advent because not everybody is familiar with that. Although this Protestant showed up ready to talk about Advent.
I love it. I love Advent because I love planning things and like preparing for the new year, and Advent is the liturgical new year. So
essentially it's the
great
start. Yeah. So you get two new years.
Bonus,
you get one now.
A bonus new year. Yeah, exactly.
The best. Speaking though of, are you doing Christmas shopping yet? Like before we get into actual Advent and like the more spiritual, holy side.
I'm actually being really intentional with when my kids tell me that they want something or I have an idea of like, oh, I think this would be really enriching. I've just been writing everything down so that I don't kind of go into it blind. Well, normally it's just like, oh, that thing is on sale at Target. Oh, that thing is on sale at Amazon. And I just kind of randomly get things. And then the night before I'm like, shoot, I got so-and-so 4 things and so-and-so only has 1. And then it's like you're
running to like the grocery store.
No, I'm like, can I pull off giving this to this kid instead of that kid? You know, just that whole thing. So, and you know, budget. You can easily like blow your budget and put yourself in debt at Christmas. And I don't want that to happen. So I'm trying to plan better, but I haven't actually started the shopping other than like I got a new Christmas tree and a Bible that I'm going to give as like the family gift to my kids and my husband.
Well, that's a good start. I'm terrible at gift giving. One year I gave my children monogrammed bath towels.
Oh, well, they're girls. Yeah. They probably loved it.
No, they did not. And my husband was like, seriously, you're fired. You do not get I was like, but it's practical. And it has a ballerina monogrammed onto it. Isn't that great? So I kind of have to coordinate with my husband. He and his family are the gift givers.
Okay.
My family was not so much. We were more kind of experiences. And when you're on a tighter budget, you just sort of adapt. And so it's great because every single one of us who are married, I feel like married siblings who come from more gift-giving families. So it balances it out for our children who would just be getting like underwear and monogram towels for Christmas. Yeah. But instead, there is joy to be had.
Yes.
I'm though like that person who goes nuts about stuff. I like hate extra things in our house. And so I really have to find that balance when it comes to Christmas. But we'll get something. It'll be great. I'll probably just buy my youngest, a 1 pound thing of blueberries and be like, here you go. You love blueberries.
Yeah. Eat your heart out.
But if you wrap it up in wrapping paper, then they're pumped. I don't know.
Yes. Especially the really little ones. The whole thing for them is like opening the present.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My daughter on the way to school today, she asked for jewels.
Jewels?
Jewels.
Like just however you would like to present me these jewels.
She said, Mom, I really need some jewels. And this is a conversation that's happening because every time we go to like a little resale shop or something, I get her like a $1 bracelet or a little ring or something. And without fail, within like 15 minutes, it's gone. It falls off of her little finger, or she's let someone else try it on and forgot to get it back. Like this girl cannot hold down any type of jewelry. So
wow.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to like load up. My local resale shop has this bowl where everything is $1 and it's all this jewelry that I guess they couldn't sell. So I'm just going to buy like 10 of those things and put them in little gift bags for her. And she's going to think that her day
she'll
is
have
made.
hit the jackpot. She'll have so many jewels.
Yeah, she'll have her jewels. So
I love it.
that one was easy.
That is easy.
Now, a 16-year-old asking for jewels would be a little trickier to navigate, but
depends if they still hold on to those jewels.
Mm.
You can hold on to it, then we'll talk.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so Advent and Christmas are not all about gift giving, friends, and we know this. But please tell us your ideas. If you are good at shopping and good at coming up with gifts, like my sister-in-law's, we would welcome the help. And you can email us at wildandbeautifulpodcast@gmail.com and tell us what we should be buying our children that is both meaningful and fun and not a monogram towel. But let's talk about Advent. And the reason we wanted to do Advent is that it's a great way to, one, sort of reset the year spiritually, kind of as you mentioned, that liturgical New Year, but also I have found it makes the Christmas season so much more full. You're not just sort of like kind of Christmas Day, boom, done. Like there's an expectation that is developed in the Advent season that is not necessarily there when you're just like, oh, Christmas is coming. And so I'm going to let Lauren lead on this since Advent is more of a Catholic tradition, but I hope those of you who listen and are not Catholic, if you're not embracing this already, I highly recommend it. We've been doing it for a long time. I grew up doing it kind of, but it's just a beautiful way to enrich your Christmas season.
Yeah, it's a season of planning and preparation. And, when you're looking forward to a vacation, a lot of people would say like the anticipation is even better than the actual vacation, especially the ones who love to plan, planning out all the restaurants you're going to go to and all the stops you're going to make. So I think the world's approach to Christmas, like it really misses out on so much of the joy because the world spends Advent celebrating Christmas. Then December 26th, like the tree is on the curb, the lights come down, Christmas is over. And in our Christian faith, traditionally, we spend that season leading up to Christmas in preparation. That's not actually the Christmas season. That's the Advent season. And Advent means coming, and it's a season of preparation. Then once Christmas Day comes and Christmas Eve, maybe starting on the evening of Christmas Eve, now it's the Christmas season. And just like with Lent and Easter, we spend as much time preparing as we do celebrating. So we have these several weeks of preparation, which are really beautiful, especially with Advent. Lent is more of a sacrificial season of preparation, but Advent has a lot of celebrating and really cool preparations going on. But then once Christmas comes, you have, depending on what your tradition is, you might celebrate all the way up to Epiphany, that Feast of the Three Kings in early January. Some people celebrate all the way up to February 2nd, which is, which I think that's Candlemas. And I think, I could be mixing this up because I'm a bad Catholic, but I think it's, I think it's the day
Protestant to help you.
I know. I think it's the day that we celebrate the visitation. When Mary visited Elizabeth when she was pregnant, but someone's going to write in and be like, you got that completely wrong. I just know some people celebrate till February. I personally, I'm over the red and green by the middle of January, but I do definitely celebrate past Christmas. So, Advent is always a 4-week season of preparation. There's kind of like a formula for when the weeks start that you can look up, but it's 4 weeks, 4 Sundays. And if you have an Advent wreath, a lot of times that'll have the 4 candles in it. 1 candle is for each Sunday leading up to Christmas. So that's a good way to track it.
And this year it starts on November 27th?
27th, I believe.
So just so you know, you have 10 days to prepare if you did not think about doing Advent. And the beautiful thing is you have 4 weeks. There have been years where I'm like, it's week 2 and I finally got my candles. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I think I got my candles in week 3 last year, but I'm going to be better this year.
But then they all last. That is a nice thing.
I just ordered the LED ones, which I know.
That's cheating.
I know. You're one of those. That's going to be like, that doesn't count. But I just want them to be lit all the time. So
you also just bought a new tree and it's November, whatever. So I know you didn't buy a real tree.
No, it's a pre-lit 7-foot fake tree. I don't do real trees. Ain't nobody got time. Well, people have time for that. I do not have time for that. You have to water it. I can't even keep bamboo alive. There's no way I'm keeping a Christmas tree alive.
Well, we will have to agree to disagree. Chalk this up there with other Catholic teaching. Christmas trees.
Yeah. You can have the real candles and the real Christmas trees.
Yes.
I'll keep my fake things and be very happy with them.
Okay, so we have 4 weeks,
Mhm.
4 candles. And by the way, the candles are different. It's beautiful.
Mhm.
There's purple and pink and sometimes a white. And they
For
each
Christmas.
represent a different like focus, right?
Mhm.
Isn't it like joy, peace?
Yeah. Each one
hope.
has a different name that I don't remember, but I know the pink one is for what we call, let's see, there's a pink Sunday during Lent and a pink one during Advent. The pink one during Advent is called Gaudete Sunday, which is like an imperative that means rejoice. And it's the third Sunday of Advent. And so it's kind of like this, okay, we know you've been at this for 3 weeks, but remember what's coming, because the church doesn't want you to fall into this like, oh my gosh, is this ever going to end? You're like,
well,
we're going
maybe
to
if
have
you're
this
celebrating
pink
till
day.
February, good grief.
I know. And it's really funny for Catholics, if you go to Mass, which you should, on the Sundays that are pink in the Advent and Lenten seasons, the priest will always make a comment that he is not wearing pink vestments. He will say, these are not pink, they are rose. So it's like a drinking game, except you're not going to be drinking. But if you go to different Masses on these Sundays, you will always hear a priest.
It's like the
explain.
same priest joke.
Yeah, it's like, this is not a pink shirt, it's salmon. Same thing.
Okay,
Same thing, but the priest version. Fun fact about Catholic Masses.
Perfect.
So I have a good catechism quote here, to the surprise of nobody. And I did actually rein some of my Catholicism in for this episode, because this is an evangelical, ecumenical podcast where we both share our different traditions and our different views. But of course, I couldn't let an episode go by without a catechism quote.
Do you also have a JP2 quote?
Not today.
That's unfortunate.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Carry on.
Okay.
I like catechism.
It's just explaining what Advent is and why it's so awesome. So when the church celebrates the liturgy of Advent each year, she makes present this ancient expectancy of the Messiah. For by sharing in the long preparation for the Savior's first coming, the faithful renew their ardent desire for his second coming. By celebrating the precursor's birth and martyrdom, the church unites herself to his desire. He must increase, but I must decrease. I just love that. And the church does focus on how these seasons of preparation, they are preparation for it. We're celebrating this coming that happened 2,000 years ago plus.
Yeah.
We're also expecting and hoping for and waiting for his second coming. But I also have this kind of third thought, which is he's always standing there knocking at the door of your heart. And every moment of every day, I think Advent and Lent are invitations to remind ourselves we should never stop preparing, like trying to sweep the floor and freshen up the flowers in our heart so that he's always ready to come in. And Advent is this opportunity to look back over the last year and say, where did my relationship with Jesus, where was it not as strong as it could have been? And not to beat yourself up over that, but to resolve and make a plan for how that can be better going forward. And you kick that off with Advent. So what are some of the things that you do during
Well, I was going to say,
Advent?
what's great too is so often we think of Christmas season as this frenetic, just jam-packed time. And you like both love it and hate it, especially probably if you're an introvert. You're like, kind of dreading it, but you know you're supposed to love it. And what I appreciate about Advent is it, one, forces you to be a little bit more intentional. So instead of you just blindly like barreling in after Thanksgiving and going, here we go, and we just got to try to survive until December 25th, and then we all collapse in that week before Christmas and New Year's, it slows it down. It causes you to pause a bit and say, what are we doing this season? And how are we preparing? And how are we keeping our focus on the fact that this is celebrating Christ coming into the world and just how that birth changed everything for humanity. And, if you have kids, what's really great is I have found it helps keep that focus on Christmas is the celebration of Jesus Christ because you are dripping this daily into their lives and teaching them the practice of anticipation for a great birthday party.
Yeah.
Versus like, we're just anticipating a Christmas, bash and families coming and all those things are really good. Yeah. But you have to fight. One of the ways you fight funny enough, one of the ways that you are wild in this culture is to purposefully slow down and to pick your pace. And one of the ways that you are beautiful is that in the slowing down, there's intention in it. You're not just saying, I'm doing nothing because I just can't. You are replacing one form of not even busyness, but you're saying no to a lot of things because you're saying yes to something better.
Yeah.
And I just really appreciate that about Advent, how it does do that. And I like how it usually starts right after Thanksgiving, I think. So you kind of have Thanksgiving and then you have a couple of days to say, okay, how do we want to do this?
Yeah.
Now, I would love to know though because this is something I don't do, but I kind of am wanting to do it now. From December 25th, because we celebrate January 6th, which is Feast of the Epiphany, when the three kings came, because that's something we did in Spain. But what often is done in those 11 days, 12 days, it's the 12 days of Christmas.
Yeah, the 12 days of Christmas.
So, because there's the lead up to Christmas, but then how maybe do Catholics celebrate those Christmas days, essentially?
Yeah. So a really cool thing about Catholic solemnities, so Christmas and Easter primarily, is that each day for 8 days following the solemnity is actually considered the same. It's considered the same day. So it's like when you have these really long weddings in some cultures that go on for days, this is the same thing with our solemnities. So for Christmas, Christmas Monday, Christmas Tuesday, all the way until the following Sunday, when we celebrate the Holy Family, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, every single one of those days is considered by the church to be Christmas.
That's fantastic.
So to the extent that you have the energy to continue going to mass and making good food, eating your great leftovers, being off from work, like to the extent that you can celebrate those 8 days, you're invited to celebrate them as Christmas Day. And this was really, really evident. I spent a year in a monastery right after high school when I was 18. And it was a cloistered monastery. So these nuns all lived together and they didn't really leave unless they needed to go to the doctor or something. And the daily life was very scheduled and routine, very quiet. There were only a few times during the day when you would really talk to each other. There was an hour every night where you would have recreation. So after your 3 silent meals, after dinner, you would go and play board games or watch a movie or something. But during Christmas, starting on Christmas Eve, in the middle of the night, we would go to mass and have this huge celebration with wine and champagne and charcuterie and all kinds of stuff. Then you'd go to bed and wake up and go to mass early again the next morning. And it was this huge mass with beautiful music and incense. And then after mass, for all those 3 meals a day for 8 days, there's candy on the table. You're talking during meals. There's dessert after the meal. Like it's a whole celebration and it just goes on and on. By the end of the 8 days, the introvert in me was like, I'm ready to go back to silent meals. Thank you. But I love that.
That's so cool. That contrast.
It's very pronounced. So that's kind of like the beginning of the 12 days of Christmas. And then sometimes there would be a tradition that instead of doing all your gifts on Christmas, you would do one small gift a day for 12 days, things like that. But just not letting December 26th be the end of Christmas. That's not the idea.
A family I grew up with, they're not Catholic, and yet they, to me, celebrated those 12 days better than anybody I know. They did the drawn out gift thing, and then every night they would open up their house and do a carol sing. And so people could come. It was sort of like potluck style, and you came and you sing, and it was just fellowshipping and fun. And it was essentially a party for 12 nights, which, I mean, even I, as an extrovert, feel exhausted at the sound of that. I was like, I can't do that.
Was that in Spain?
No, that was here in Spokane.
Oh, wow.
I
feel like in the US we're way too busy to do that.
I think that's what was shocking to me. And it just stood out. It's like, oh, this is what Christmas could look like in terms of the Advent incorporation. So I know we're going to talk now about like how we do Advent, but I'm going to have to go think about how I want to do those 12 days because I love that. I don't want to and that's also often when your kids are home from school, or maybe you are visiting family more, or you've taken time off work, or if you're a college student, like you have a break. So there is a chance to do a different routine and rhythm.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you do Advent or those 4 weeks? Let's do the 4 lead up weeks.
Yeah.
Any practices, habits, traditions?
I try to do the Advent wreath, I'm going to be the first to admit that I have been very hit or miss with it in the past. We always have one and it's out, but whether the candles get lit, etc., is something I'm going to work on this year. And then a lot of times we just have one devotional. So each night or each Sunday at least, we'll read from that devotional in preparation for Advent. But what I started doing last year and what I fully intend to do this year, because it was really transformative, was treating Advent like a new year and making spiritual resolutions for our family. And so the resolution that we made last year for Advent was to pray we're Catholic, we prayed the rosary every night. Yeah. And we did it. We actually prayed the rosary every night since last Advent. And that was like a big triumph. I think by the grace of God, it actually really deepened our prayer life as a family and kind of opened other opportunities to expand our faith. We set up a prayer table in our house where we have our collection of many Bibles. And so the kids that, and I have a hard time focusing too, anyone is welcome to grab one of those Bibles. And we have children's Bibles and Spanish Bibles and commentary Bibles, but some of them just read the Bible during the rosary, which is totally fine with me. And so I think something expanding on that this year is going to be the resolution. I have to talk to my husband about it. But I love that. That's been the change.
I'm going to talk to my
us.
husband about creating a resolution. I don't know that we have. I want to believe we're intentional parents, but a lot of my parenting feels like we are just sort of shooting from the hip.
It feels like that a lot. And I will say the reason that we've been able to maintain the rosary is because we have the EWTN app on our TV. We have like a smart TV with a Catholic television app on it, and we watch the rosary, like this rosary where they're going through the Holy Land and seeing the sites where those mysteries of the rosary are taking place. I feel like if it were just to like sit down and round everybody up and make it happen, that would be harder, but we just like start the thing and everyone kind of circles around.
Way to use technology to bridge that gap. I appreciate it.
Hey, no shame.
That's good. That's good. One of the things I do with the kids, and my mom did this when I was a kid, and we had one book that we read repeatedly or a couple, and there's 4 books in this series for families to read, essentially kids. And each of these books it's fictional, but it follows the journey of a child. And if you get the 4 books, you realize these stories are interwoven, and they all end up at the manger. So one is a shepherd child. One is the daughter of, I think, a merchant. One is with the wise men. And so he's from Persia, and they see this star. And then the 4th is, I think, an orphan. And so it's been really fun for our kids because it engages them. There's a story, and we can talk about the pieces in there that we know from Scripture. What in here do we know to be true, and what is made up or kind of conjecture because of culture and whatnot, and you're just kind of guessing. But it really brings it alive for my kids to have a sense of like, oh yeah, there were children who grew up anticipating a Messiah, but not necessarily having lived after the Messiah with this whole idea of Christmas, and it introduces different cultures. So I love that one. We'll link to it.
Yeah. We're going to have lots of book recommendations
lots of links,
in the show
so
notes.
many links in these show notes because that's what's really fun too, I think, about this season is you get to read, and you read things that you maybe wouldn't read otherwise because, again, that different pace. One thing I want to do this Advent, because I've had this book for like 4 years and I have not remembered to read it. Every time I pull it out, it's, I don't know, January 2nd. Like, well, missed that. But it's this book called Watch for the Light, Readings for Advent and Christmas. And it's a compilation of writings. I mean, you've got Henry Nouwen, you've got Sylvia Plath, you've got people I've never heard of, a lot of people, Dorothy Day. I have heard of her. Don't worry. I wasn't saying I didn't. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And it's excerpts that help from the start of Advent all the way through to focus your thoughts on not just, yay, a baby's coming, but really like, what does this mean?
Yeah.
That God would put on flesh and come into this world, that light crashed into darkness and the world was changed by it. And as an adult, I think to remember, we always also need to be renewed in our mind and shifting our thoughts and really challenging, where is my perspective? Because you're right, the world wears us down. And I love this idea of it's a new year before the new year. It's like a lead up to all your goal setting and all that stuff. But I bet your goals are much more intentional when you have spent essentially 5 weeks focusing and refocusing and shifting and sifting through everything.
Yeah. I love Advent I love the traditions in the secular world for Christmas. I love the Christmas parties. I actually do. I love weddings and Christmas parties, even as an introvert. I love the shopping for gifts and the wrapping and the decorating and the cooking and the gaining all the weight from the cookies. It's great. I mean, I love Christmas as much as the next guy. But the way that I think we can stop that from burning us out, especially as women who carry a lot of the nurturing and homemaking and we kind of make Christmas happen, if we're being honest. It can really wear you down and you can get caught up in the status quo of like, did I get my kid as cool of a toy as his friend and blah, blah, blah. If we're starting with the spiritual preparation, if we're rooting what we're doing in that like preparation for the coming of the Savior, not just cliche sayings about it's going to be Jesus's birthday, but really realizing like this is a spiritual new year. This is a time for resolution and refocusing. I think it'll help us to not get burned out because we'll know where to say no and maybe where like, okay, we're going to be stretching ourselves too thin and not a good way if we go to another Christmas party. And I like that about Advent.
Oh, you get invited to a lot of Christmas parties? Okay.
You know, my kids, I've got a lot of kids now, as do you. And there's always like class parties and.
No, we do not have
lots of
this nonsense.
Oh man, it's a lot. But I also wanted to say as part of this episode that traditions are awesome. And a lot of us have traditions related to Christmas Eve and Advent and Christmas. But sometimes our traditions, we're going along with them because they're traditions. And maybe they're not working for us or serving us as well as they could. So I kind of want to give people permission to just try new traditions or get rid of old ones that are, you know, if your tradition is to stay up until 2 a.m., wrapping presents the night before, like maybe that's not a tradition that you want to keep doing. Maybe it is. I mean, I'm not judging, but
maybe you love that.
Yeah, maybe you do. But there's nothing wrong with, you know, stopping something that's not working for you or trying something new. Last year, we went out on a limb. We packed up our car and we took our kids and ourselves to rural Alabama, to that monastery I used to live at. And Jose and I were nervous. We thought, you know, our kids are not brats, but you know, kids love tradition and they love knowing what's going to happen. And they love anticipating that grandma's going to come over on Christmas and we're going to do this with the Christmas tree and everything. And we just, a few days before Christmas, we left, just our family. And we decided to spend Christmas in this rural Alabama area where we didn't know anyone. And there was just a monastery there, nothing else. And we rented a little house. And it was amazing. Everyone had the time of their life. The kids have been asking to go back ever since then. It was beautiful. We only had a few. We didn't get that many presents because what we had is just what we brought from home that we had already purchased. We did buy a lot of food at the grocery store and ate the whole time. But really all we did every day was hang out together and visit that monastery, walk around the grounds, you know, go pray for prayer services. And the kids just loved it. So that's my encouragement to you is try new things. If what you're doing isn't working for you or serving you well, don't be afraid to try a new tradition.
Yeah. I like that too, because I'm one of those people that feels this weight of, okay, I need to create really great traditions because my children are going to carry them on. And that actually paralyzes you from ever trying anything. You're like, well, I don't know if that's the one. But I love that. Like, try something this year. And you may at the end of it be like, that did not work. We're not going to do that next year. But we tried it. Like, I might try 12 days of Christmas and be like, that was terrible, actually. I'm exhausted. I can't celebrate. Or it'll be a great way. So I think that's a really good reminder as we head into this. Just because you've done something for years doesn't mean you have to keep doing it. If something sounds interesting, try a new thing. You know, our kids are getting to the age where we can ask them to say, and I try to ask as we head into these different seasons, what is something you would like to see happen? What's something you want to do? And that's a great indicator for me of like, what's the stuff that sticks? What's the stuff that I can leave behind because it actually was not memorable or not enjoyable, and involving them in creating those traditions. You know, we had one growing up where we ate these things called codfish cakes. So it's like codfish with mashed potato, and you put an egg cream sauce. Like my grandma did that forever. It's not that bad. But
it's not that bad.
I mean, it's one of those things like, you know, when you grow up eating this thing, you're like, sure. And then all of us had people marry in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my husband who finally, with like the sister-in-laws, was like, we are not doing that. We will order a pizza and we will sit on the other end of the table. We are not eating fish and potatoes covered in egg cream sauce. All of us looked at him like,
now I'm so intrigued. Like, I really want to try it now.
It's like a Scandinavian thing. And so we grew up thinking it was great. But like, that's one that we've kind of let go of because my husband will not eat these things. So now we are coming up with our own, like, what does Christmas Eve look like? And there's freedom in that and being able to say like, okay, like we're starting something new for our family. But then there will be things that we still incorporate. And you have to also learn to incorporate your spouse's traditions.
Yes.
However weird they may be, let's be honest.
Well, mine's from Peru. So there's some weird ones, but they're delicious. Oh, there's
a guinea pig.
Jose did say it's almost Christmas. They're almost fat enough. He was joking. He doesn't like guinea pigs. Well, he's going to cook them. No, but
I bet they look real cute dressed.
Oh, I'm
literally
sure.
And for the food.
Panettone. That's how he says it. But you know that. Oh, so good. So good. With
That's
hot chocolate. That's a big one for Christmas Eve. I'm all about that tradition. Lots of them.
I need some more food traditions.
Yeah.
Friends, tell us what your food traditions are. We need to know these things. Yeah. And anything else on Advent that you would want to make sure people know or have in mind?
There are truly a lot of links in the show notes. There's things that we couldn't get to because I talk too much, but
not at all. You do
look
great.
At the show notes because, when Christmas comes, that's in the show notes.
Yes. Okay.
Andrew Klavan's Christmas mystery novel.
Let's take a hot second. We are going to be having Mr. Klavan on the show.
Oh my
Can I say that? That's a teaser for those of you that made it to the end. But he released this book last year. It's a Christmas mystery, right? It's such a fun read.
A Yuletide mystery. That's what he calls
mystery.
it.
And his second book just came out. So
the sequel
be
to
paying
this.
attention. We will be having him on to talk about these books. But again, that's what's fun about Christmas is that you can read these books that you might not read or you feel like I can't read novels during the year. I got to do parenting books.
Yeah.
Boring.
And this is not a religious book at all.
It's not.
We're
It's
giving
really
you
fun.
permission to read a fun mystery novel that's not Christian.
Every book at Christmas doesn't have to be about Jesus being born. Okay, friends? It's all right. It's all right. So check out the book list and link recommendations in the show notes because that's going to be a gold mine for y'all. There's also going to be a link in there from Cultivate What Matters. They have a free download that allows you to sort of think through as well. Like, what do I want my Christmas season to be about? What am I saying yes to? What am I saying no to? What am I going to plan in advance to do? Whether that's ordering your Christmas cards, if that's a thing that you love to do, or it's wrapping your gifts multiple nights in a row so that you're not up till 2 a.m. No, I mean, maybe you don't have young children who wake up at 6, but
I have to give a shout out to my sister who's been wrapping gifts for like a month already. And she it's like homemade wrapping paper. The whole thing, it's got like holly and dried oranges. It's amazing. Okay. I'm so excited. But this is her hobby.
Gaines.
Christmas is her hobby. And I am here for it.
Yeah, I want to get a gift from her. It can be nothing. You can just give me a gift, Christina.
Just give her a box wrapped up in this
pretty
beautiful
wrapping, and I'll put it under my tree. It'll look good. Oh man, this gets me excited. I am ready. So again, email us at wildandbeautifulpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what new tradition are you going to try? What is a tradition you love and you're holding on to? And of course, we ask that you would like this, share this, rate this, help other people get into not just the Christmas spirit, but the Advent season.